Welcome to a new episode of Outside the Panels with your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes.
An episode of Outside the Panels. I'm your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes, looking rather tanned from my recent holiday abroad. There you go, that's how up to date we are. I am back from my break. We're back talking about comic books. We're here with some fantastic creators, and this episode is no exception with the ultra talented, the ultra versatile Nicholas Tana. Nicholas, how's it going?
Hello, great. I'm happy to be here.
Yes. We're here to talk about your book. It's in the background. eJunky. What is the story behind this book? Let's start at the top and work our way down.
Well, eJunky, I've had years of experience both as a creative, but also working as an IT consultant and in biotechnology. And I've seen firsthand sort of where we're going with trends around like emotional AI and the use of technology to kind of control and in some ways maintain our peace amongst, suffering and pain. The push is to kind of like reduce suffering and pain, which makes sense. Mm-hmm. But there's a flip side to that, right? It's what happens if we're successful? Like what are the consequences of that? And so I wanted to explore that in this story, and I kind of woven it into a tale, a detective noir set in a futuristic world. And that's how eJunky came about. eJunky stands for Experience Junkie.
All right, okay, cool. That's a good question. Mm-hmm. I'll take that one off my list. All right, yeah. All right. So he wants the character wants to go through the experiences of positive experience, negative experiences, or all of them?
All of them. So an Experience Junkie is one that likes to feel everything. And this is set in a world where nations have been dissolved, and there's this World Corporation Organization, sort of that is the conglomerate representatives of the most powerful corporations in the world. They want to maintain sort of a level of peace because you can't do business when everyone's fighting with each other. And so one of their ways that they've done this is through the use of emotional regulation technology. So they have these things called emo regs, which people are wearing. Okay. And you can actually see how people are feeling through colors, almost like those 80s mood rings back in the day. So if you were getting angry, see that and they'd know. And I'd be like, okay, let me step back or maybe readdress how I'm communicating with you. Mm-hmm. So the idea and the onus of everything is good, right? Mm-hmm. But of course, now people are getting very complacent, and what's happening is people don't even want to procreate and they don't even want to buy things anymore. So they're starting to dial back the controls on people. But in that world now, pain and suffering have become kind of a commodity, and there's this black market of people selling experiences. And so in this world also, you're able to curate through cellular memory what it was like to be another person. You can, in the form of a drug, take this cellular memory and you can experience what it was like to be Johnny yesterday. and it lasts for like about a period of 30 days. Okay. And then you go beyond that. They can't freeze those memories. They just die off. Okay. There's this group called the Guardians of Pain who somehow, through their own technology, managed to curate painful memories in history that go well beyond 30 days.
All right.
Bringing it back so you can experience what it's like to be on the Titanic when it sunk, or in the Salem witch trials when people were burned at the stake, and really know what our ancestors went through. And they're bringing it back on the black market and selling it to people that don't really know pain and suffering, and it's become sort of a commodity. Okay. And of course, eJunkies want to experience it all, so they're on this. But the WCO wants to stop it because what's happening is people are starting a revolution. It's bringing back everything they've tried to stop. They're bringing it back. And there's a lot of people that are angry that some of their history has been taken from them too. So they hire, ironically, this eJunkie to kind of go into the underworld and trace down the Guardians of Pain and stop them. And that's Hector Holmes, our protagonist.
Whoa. Right. We have a video trailer. So let's have a look at that. We'll just bring this up to front. There we go. Should be there in 2 seconds. There we have it. All right, here we go. So this is eJunky Book 1. The trailer, it is available on YouTube, so go and check it out. And here we go. Whoa, that is impressive. I'm liking this already. Definitely. Whoa, I am all about this. This looks right up my street. It's interesting to talk about the colours to show the kind of emotion that people are going through. I'm not a massive expert, but I know that people who deal with bipolar sometimes use colour to help explain the type of mood that they're in, because it's when you have bipolar, you can go from 0 to warp speed quite quickly. There's no sort of like middle ground. So people associate colors with how they are. So it's all individual. So a person, for me, if I had bipolar, I think maybe blue's a chill color, red's a danger color. Other people might think it the other way around. So there's always that different, I suppose, level of interpretation. Here you've decided that a color scheme, is it universal across the characters? So if everyone sees green, they know what green means?
Yeah, that's a great question. And for the most part, green is homeostasis. So it tries to keep you in the green, because that's maintaining a balance, right? And so then it kind of ebbs and flows. Now I had a whole color scheme that matches the psychological index of what colors are, and I've given that to the illustrator. As for whether he adhered to it on every single panel, he takes a lot of creative license, so I can't guarantee that. But we tried. In some cases, it's also trying to find the color scheme that works with the panel, given all the other colors. And there's all these things artists think about. As a writer, of course, I want to be, keep the fiduciary to what's real. But as a creator, illustrator, you kind of want to make it blend and look good. So I think we found a compromise. But I can say that the color green is definitely representative of homeostasis. And you'll see that in some of the panels when one of the key characters, who I didn't talk about, Astra, she's a dream celebrity. Because in the future, TV and movies have I have a whole section about how Hollywood kind of collapses. And people actually, one of their big forms of entertainment is watching other people's dreams. You're able to project that. And in this world, there are dream celebrities whose dreams are more popular than other people's dreams. And Astra's one of those because she was placed on an emo reg at birth. So her dreams are like Disney dreams. Like they're all fantastical and wonderful, and there's no bad dreams or anything in there. So she's like the new Disney icon character. And what happens is the Guardians of Pain want to like hack her channel, and they do, and they spread their message about their drug torch, which has DNA experiences. And so she becomes a victim, like of this. And so Hector teams up with her to kind of try to trace these down because she can get access to high levels of society. And you'll notice there's a scene with Astra where, I don't want to give too much away, but where she's been on this emo reg and Hector encourages her to remove it. And it's an exciting scene. And what happens then, I won't give it away.
Don't give it away. We want people to go and buy the book. So yeah, it's fine. I've got to say, I will say this, and I mean this as a compliment. All right, so please take it as such. It sounds massively busy. You've got like people build worlds. You're building like a world within a world within a world. How do you manage to keep it all straight?
And you're absolutely right, Johnny. And the reason why is, and there's many. I love this question. For one, it's a rich universe, and in sci-fi, I think you need to build out a rich universe. For two, I kind of get bored in worlds that don't build these things out because the world is complex economically, like what happens in the world. Like in this world, people wear ad apparel and eyeballs see the apparel. And based on how many people see what you're advertising on your clothes, it gets bit directly into your bank account. I try to think about how the consequences of technology will change everything from economy to education to our personal relationships. And I think it's a fiduciary, I think it's the job of the writer to kind of have this told. And I actually find it boring that sci-fi tends to focus on one concept in a box to make it simple for the reader. I think we're in an age where stories are going to have to evolve to keep up with the times. And I think world building is where it's at, because world building allows you to kind of jump into a universe, because with the metaverse and everything else, you're going to want to walk into the world, and that world's going to need to be defined. And so writers that were really skilled at that would have backstory and backstory and backstory of their characters. In a comic book, if you're creative, you can bring that into the book. And so I did that. I still keep the A story very straight, and it's focused on Hector and his plight. But then I have all these inter chapters, much like The Watchmen, what Alan Moore did in The Watchmen. You know, you get depth into the characters through the inter chapters. But we took it a step further. We have like futuristic advertisements that gives you insight into the technology that exists. We have, you know, everything from obituary to a journal of one of the main clone characters. And it's different ways to tell that story and build out that universe. You don't necessarily have to read it to understand the story, but it gives you another depth.
I say this quite a lot when someone brings up The Watchmen. I say this every time. I like the bits in the middle of the main story in The Watchmen. In fact, I read that more than I read The Watchmen. Yeah. You know, the main story of The Watchmen is kind of like, I want to know what's going on in between the panels, as it were. It's interesting you bring up that sci-fi can be complex, and writers shouldn't be scared of that. They should build into that complexity. I would also probably add to that and say that the majority of comic book readers now are an older reader, and therefore they expect something a little bit more complicated, a little bit more thought-provoking. You know, comics aren't always aimed at the especially now for the last, I don't know, 10 years, 20 years or whatever. They're not aimed at those, you know, those teen years. I mean, fair enough, I suppose Batman is, but, you know, how many times you get Batman every time, right? So, you know, you're comfortable going with complex ideas because the readers you've got now can handle it, right?
I think in part, I do think that people give readers too little credit. I think people that are still reading, period, are going to already be the type that are willing to invest, like versus, because let's face it, that's not the majority of people anymore, right? They want it simple and easy. And so I think those people are specifically the ones that are going to want to digest that. I think the other thing is, like I said about the world building, I think at one point in time, yes, keeping the science simple is an easy sell, but I think easy's gone. I think you have to be ultra unique and world building to actually stand out in today's world. Otherwise, yesterday's news within 60 days or 30 or less. And so you know, there's another term in Hollywood, they use toyenic, and like if a property has, they call everything a property, like an IP, intellectual property. If it has legs and it can go into different facets, right? Now that's a necessity. No one's going to develop an IP without having potential for video games, potential for other things, other properties, because they can't afford to put the time and money into it if it's not going to be able to return investment in many different ways. So, you know, as a creator, you want to think about that, you know, creative enough to do that.
It's funny you bring this up because, I mean, I've just seen this today. In fact, on the day of recording, I've just seen an article come up that Bob Iger is looking to shelve some of the Marvel stuff and Star Wars stuff from Disney. You know, so what you were talking about from a science fiction point of view, how corporations work and how they're trying to, in some places, dumb down to the lowest common denominator. Not that I'm saying Disney do that, but Disney do that. And now you've incorporated that, and this is what makes this book so interesting to me, is you've got so many different aspects of society now. You know, you've got people worrying about money, you've got people who have addictions, you've got people who are focused on AI, you've got streaming services who pander to your every whim. All you got to do is punch in the search engines. Don't get me started on watching Below Deck. My wife loves Below Deck, so, you know, how many franchises of that is there? So you're kind of taking these things that I think are recognizable in today's world and giving it a sci-fi polish, and I think that works really well. It makes it, whilst the story ideas are complex, it's easy to recognize. People can look at it and go, oh, look, yeah, the Astra in her dreams. I know kids who would rather watch YouTube of a gamer playing a game than play the game themselves.
Exactly.
And you're like, what are you doing? You know, I bought you the game, play the damn game. Like, oh no, I'm watching this guy. This guy does this. Oh man, really? So all these things that kind of built in, you know, these are the things that people will recognize, and then because they recognize them, will take that jump into the sci-fi aspect. Yeah,
I think they're going to get it on different levels, because I've tested this with older readers, but I've tested it even with a 16-year-old readers, you know, like,
Okay.
and they get it. They get it more than you realize, you know? And I think what's important is comics and have a unique opportunity to reach that audience still. And they have that opportunity to kind of open up discussions and present a level of self-reflection as to where we're going. And I don't think reaching that important demographic is easy, but I think we still have that potential through things like the graphic novel and comic. And I think schools need to take advantage of that to kind of bring that into the curriculum, because what they're doing now is just so outdated, and it will help, especially if the work is on that level where it's actually presents something worthy of education, you know, but also entertaining and reflective of where we're going, you know, and makes you question where we're going on many levels. And I think that's what I want with eJunky as well, is that it finds that audience, because I think I want to speak to them now because they're our hope for the future. And where everything's going so quickly, there's a lot to be worried about.
Yeah, true that. What was I going to say? You've mentioned creative, yourself as a creative person. I've just kind of run through a bit of a bio for yourself. Writer, director, producer, a musician. Wow, what instruments do you play?
I play guitar. I'm a percussionist too, and I play bass. Okay. Those are my main instruments. I can dabble in like drums and keyboards, but yeah.
Okay. Creator of graphic novel Hell's Kitty, which has spawned a web series, a feature film, and an award-winning musical at the Hollywood Fringe Festival.
Yes. Well, so as a multi-hyphenate, I guess is what they call it now. Like, I like developing a world and playing in different aspects of that world, right? Because it takes so much to build anything that if you can't re-skin it, so to speak, to use the video gamer terms, right? Take a platform and put it in different areas, like you're not going to have that much time with it. And it takes so long and a big investment of time and money to kind of put something out. I like to put things out there that can go in different areas so that you can keep staying with that, experiencing and seeing it morph and having the enjoyments of that. Being able to sit in there and watch the musical with people live in a performance was amazing. It's not the same experience as seeing it played at the Chinese theater, not the same experience as hearing or getting comments on the web series or hearing later people that read the comic book. You know, it's a different experience. So I like to kind of experience it all. I guess I'm an eJunky.
Right, what you know. Good call. I'm a little bit old school. All right, I get quite tetchy when people look at comics as a means to make something else. All right, so I know you mentioned how a lot of properties have to divert to different things to get to recoup the cost. Yeah. I like comics to be comics. Yeah, I am old school. I'm sorry about that. Do you feel that I suppose the proliferation of comic book movies over the last decade or so, do you think that helps or hinders the creation of comic books? In fact, I suppose, long-winded way, are people writing comics for writing comics, or are people writing comics to sell on somewhere else to make a bigger book?
I can't speak to other people.
Oh, fair enough. I mean, from your experience, you probably hang out with more creatives than I do.
I can't say from having the ears to the ground, they're doing both. There are people that are purists that just have no interest in anything else, that just want to do comics. There are people that are doing it because they hope that it will grow into other IPs so they can make the big bucks, because, you know, there's not that much money in comics alone. There are people that are so into comics that think comics are a dead medium. Alan Moore, for example. So I think for me, as you probably can tell, I like to live in many mediums, and because I was a diehard collector from like the 80s, man. You know, I had Secret Wars. I still have all those comics. I was in the store. I learned comics were the first time I actually realized I can enjoy something and it still can be a business investment. Pick up a comic, and if I took good care of it, I enjoyed every little bit of it, but I put it away, I can actually make more money on it after enjoying it, and then go get another comic, right?
Don't tell my wife that.
So honestly, I do know the history of comics and I love it, but it spurred my interest in film and the ability to tell storyboards to design movies, because essentially a storyboard is like a comic, right?
Perfect, good show.
Yeah, and so I don't believe in being dogmatically stuck in this is all it is and this is what you do.
Yeah,
I think, but at the same time, I respect the art of it, and I think, you know, the purity of what it is. If that's your thing and that's all you want to do, I respect it. But telling people that's what they should do too, not into that. As an artist,
yeah,
tell me what to do.
Fair shout. I think probably the best idea for the industry is you have all the different variants. You know, I always get in arguments about which is better: comic books, graphics, digital. And I'm very much a case of, you know what, get what you can get. You know,
who's better, Superman or Spider-Man? I mean, everyone has an opinion, right? But it's Superman. Like, can you really answer that, or it's just your ego kind of imputing it on everyone else?
Superman. What was I going to say? So I like floppies. I like comics. You know, 22 pages. Some people like graphics. Some people like it. The key to the success is that you provide books across the mediums for different people, so they all get access to it. That's how success works. And I suppose it makes no difference whether your comic book ends up being just a comic book or whether it transforms into a TV show, a musical, a movie, whatever. Cool. Yeah. All right. With you being a musician, then, I think we'll take a quick break for one of our other shows. Check out this. I'm not sure how you'll feel about this, but here we go. This is K-Pop Cosmos. There you go, K-Pop Cosmos, our monthly show dedicated to everything that is K-pop. To me, it just looks like boy bands on Power Rangers, but what do I know? I'm an old school kind of guy.
You know, I am a musician, and I did a song for eJunky that's actually on Spotify and on. Yeah, I do music for every one of my projects. It's
did
different.
Not send me the link for that. Did you?
I just hit you up in the chat so you have the link. It's more electronic than I usually do, but it's sort of like along the lines of a modern Doctor Who theme with some manga kind of theme song vibe, and it's very driving, and I think it's perfectly suited for eJunky.
Let's see if we can play it for the listeners. There's a preview. Actually, you know what? I do have Apple Music, so it should be able to find it. What's it called?
It's also on Spotify if you have that.
Yeah. No, I'm not a Spotify person. What's this all about?
Apple Music Deezer, I think.
You can use a computer. Hello. I'm joking. Right, here we go. Let's see if this plays. We'll see if we can do this for you. Where are we at? So let's share the screen. Where have I put it? It's there. I'm not sure if this will work, but we'll see if it does. Stick it to the main screen. Press the one button. There we go. Stick it to the main screen. Let's see if it works. Hit the preview button. That is going to be stuck in my head for the rest of the night. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. That sounds really good. I mean, I really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
So, you're right. I got a little bit of Doctor Who in there. I got a little bit of Mission Impossible in there as well. We've seen that. I suppose the way it changes beats is important for the emotions that you've got on show, the different emotions that the characters go through.
Yeah. Also, if you notice, there's the driving technological side to the song, but then it brings in this organic element. And that's sort of the different forces. Like there's the people against technology. That's a part of the eJunky world, and there's so there's kind of these competing forces in the world. The folks that believe technology will solve all our problems and the folks that believe technology brings more problems. Right.
A bit both probably is the truth is in between. Let's take a step back a little bit. You said you're an 80s comic fan. So what were you reading back in the heydays of 1980s to 1990? What was your jam?
Oh my God, I think it's what wasn't I reading? But I definitely was into the Secret Wars stuff. I was into X-Men and Wolverine, the Wolverine limited series, and I love the character Mephisto. So anything he was in, Fantastic Four stuff. Of course, it's like the devil, right? Like how can you not be interested in this mysterious character? Thor has always been one of my favorite series. Ghost Rider as well, in its many renditions. Of course, I was reading Alan Moore's graphic novels and V for Vendetta, which was an inspiration in this, and like The Watchmen, which kind of took the superhero genre and flipped it on its head in many ways. Yeah, I mean, I guess what wasn't I reading? It's really like, I mean, I even went into the Harry Crumb and that whole other world of like comic books and Fritz the Cat and all those kind of things. I went back and the political stuff. And so
cool. Sounds great. And you know what? That helps you, find your own voice when it comes to your own writing.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about your collaborator here. We've got Kyle. I'm going to say Feinreich. Is that right?
Yeah, it's Kyle Feinreich. Yeah,
I was close. How did you two get together and get this ironed out? Because I always love how creative people meet.
And you know what? Actually, Kyle Feinreich. That's how you say his name. Sorry, you got me.
Kyle. Sorry. I will say, as I say every time that I butcher somebody's name, I am British. I am sorry.
Oh, that's all right.
I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that's fine. But okay. So how I connected with Kyle was through Mort Castle, who's also credited in the thanks. He's a very talented, if you don't already know him, horror writer. He's a part of the Horror Writers Association. He likes my work. I like his work. He connected me to one of his students, Kyle. Kyle was upcoming artist, does a lot with horror, has really kind of that indie vibe, but we can see he's just going to blow up because he's got the talent. And I was like, that's who I need for this. Someone fresh, someone new, but also that's kind of there, just ready to kind of pop. And that's what I want for eJunky. And so that's where I got involved with Kyle. And he just kind of recognized the vision from the beginning. And he was able to really help me kind of even panel things out. Like I had an idea for that, but when I saw his ability, I was like, you know what, Kyle, run with it. I'll just we'll do a back and forth. And he did a tremendous job, tremendous talent, brought his own thing to the art in his own way. And then I got to work with a lot of my favorite artists to do the B covers and stuff, like Daniel Sarah and like Derek Robertson, one of my favorite. Inspired me. Yeah, and then of course some of the newer guys like Stefano Corticelli. So yeah, just a dream to work with such a talented artist.
What's really impressing me, Nicholas, is when you talked about the book and talked about eJunky, you have this great big grin on your face. How can you not get enthused about a guy who's so enthused about his product? I am absolutely blown away by how wow.
Yeah. I'm very excited by it. It's been a joyous project and it's deeply personal to me too, like on many ways,
How's it working with Scout Comics? Because Scout are one of those, for me, they have a really diverse catalog of comic books that don't just focus on one particular genre. They don't try and be something they're not. For me, they're probably one of the better indie publishers out there. And before everyone starts getting on my case about saying Image and Dark Horse, give your head a shake. Image, Dynamite, Dark Horse are not indie publishers anymore. All right. All right, so just wind that in straight away. Thanks.
Yeah.
But when you talk about like people like Ahoy Comics, Scout, you've got Vault, you've got, you know, there's a whole range of these like comic publishers who put out some great stuff.
Yeah. I can't speak more highly of Scout Comics. Like in all sincerity, like they took a chance with something that some of the other ones were kind of looking at and thinking. But you know, to the comic, I did the indie comic Hell's Kitty, which was successful, but I did it myself. You know, they took a chance with something that's very unique. Not only that, but their editor was just a tremendous fan of it, and he just was there every step of the way. Andrea, who's in the credits as well, you know, of course. And then their Scout themselves, they've got some really good people that have, you know, from Brendan Deneen and Don Hanfield and James. I mean, like there's so many people that just love comics in there, but that have also understand other medium. And what I love about Scouts is Scout Comics is because they're willing to take a chance on newer creators in that world and build them out, but also like newer ideas. And there's not a lot of those guys that are willing to take that chance. Really, they just focus on the big IPs, and that's all they want to do is milk what they already have. And Scout's one of the few that have taken those risks and willing to go places. And then they also are going to foster the talent that's within their home. You know, it's like a family thing. So they're looking to kind of develop that talent and grow that out, and that's a rare thing to find these days. So can't speak more highly of them.
Cool, excellent. Right. Okay, the book is out now, correct?
The book is, well, the book in terms of the 256-page graphic novel will be out in September. It's available for pre-order. The comic, issue 1, dropped last week or a couple of weeks ago, and that is out. And that's on Scout Comics website. You can get it there, and probably another, maybe your local bookstore.
Yeah, get yourself down to your local comic book store, get it ordered. The distributors will be able to pick it up for you. There you go. There's some websites for you to check out. You've got the Amazon, if you like Amazon. Got to go where the money is. Smartmedia.com is on there as well. And of course, Scout Comics there as well. So when you go do your searching, what have I got here? We've got Simon Schuster. Okay.
Simon Schuster is going to put out the book. They're the publisher of the book. They're the distributor of the book. And so you have to, if you want to get the book, you're going to order through Simon & Schuster. And I encourage you to pre-order the book now, so you won't like have to wait for it as much. And you can get that has the complete story all in one. I highly encourage you to get that. Has things in it that you won't get from the comic books because it has all those interchapters, like the future fall of Hollywood, as I predicted, it's in there, for example. Like there's so much, and it's so timely since the two unions are striking at the same time in 60 years. Like all of that stuff I put in the book. So you only get it from the book. I highly encourage you to get the book.
The whole we're having some strike problems over here in the UK. It makes me laugh because it does make me laugh because people strike for a reason. I totally get that. Of course. But I don't understand. I am a bit of a layman in this because you get like someone, our train drivers are striking at the minute, and I'm thinking, well, if you strike, you don't get paid, but then you get paid the extra money that you want. That means train fares got to go up. That means people will stop using the trains. So you're potentially pushing yourself to redundancy. I'm not quite sure how that works for every industry, but as I say, I'm British. I'm an idiot. What do I know? Don't quote me on that. All right. Where else can we go? We can go here. Smart Media.
Smart Media is my website. I tried to curate everything cool. The trailer you played. Yeah. You can join the newsletter on that page. That's where you can kind of stay in touch with everything I'm doing. I'm doing a lot of signings at different conventions. I'm going to be at Comic-Con in San Diego doing several panels and talking. You'll be able to find where I'm going to be. You can reach out to me if you have an idea you want to, like, I don't know, maybe have me come do a signing at your local store or whatever it might be. You can reach out and let me know if you want to do some interviews. That's how you can find me.
Cool. Social media, you've got a bit of a presence, it has to be said. So here we go. You're on Facebook. Just look for Nicholas.Tana. At Nicholas Tana is your Twitter. Instagram is Nicholas Tana also. In fact, where is my Twitter right now? Let me find you. at Nicholas Tana.
I'm pretty easy to find with my name, Nicholas Tana. It's like one of the only ones on those social media. So if you search me, you should be able to find me.
Is that you? Let's see. Writer, producer. My Pet's Possessed. Is that you?
Yeah, that's me. That was the original name of Hell's Kitty.
There you go.
Originally, it was called My Pussy's Possessed, but for certain reasons.
Yeah, I can understand. Yeah. That's a different comic book. Zenoscope did that one.
Yeah. Especially when you get Nina Hartley in one of your web shows. Now all of a sudden you get associated with a certain type of genre that wasn't exactly what Hell's Kitty was about.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it was.
No. I must admit, I know that I joke about Zenoscope a lot. There's a fun story. This guy in my day job, he came over to me one time. He says, "Oh, you like comic books?" I'm like, "Yeah, I like comic books." I'm like, got Batman tattoos all over the place and stuff. And he's like, "Oh, I've got a book for you." He brings out this graphic novel. It's the Asgardian Wars, like the trade of the Asgardians, about this thick. So he says, "Oh, you can have this for free. You can have it. I'm giving it to you as a gift." I was like, "Oh, thanks, man. Why aren't you interested in this? You know, because like Asgardian, there's a lot going on." He says, "Oh, I've grown up a little bit. I've matured in my reading." I was like, "Oh, great. What are you reading?" Zenoscope. And I'm like,
"Yeah,
really? That's maturing? That's more mature than the X-Men, is it?" Hey, each to their own. Each to their own. You know, if that's what you like, that's what you like. That's what you go with, isn't it? Nicholas, it's been an absolute blast speaking to you, I must say. I could do this more often. Definitely. You're an absolute charming gentleman, sir.
Well, thank you so much, and you have my number.
All right, I will.
That channel, maybe we'll do it again. And
more than eJunky, the comic issue 1 dropped a couple of weeks. Go down to your local comic book store. If you want to do your pre-orders for the graphics and the trades, check it out. Those are the websites. We'll put this at the bottom of the blurb on our website, so you don't have to click and pause now. Because if you do, my face will look funnier than it normally does already. Not hard to do. All right. And one more time, if you want to check out Nicholas on social medias, pick your platform. I think it's pretty much a safe bet on that one. There's lots going on there. So you've got Facebook, you've got Twitter, you've got Instagram, you've got eJunky there as well as Nicholas. So you get both barrels, you know. So there you go. I would personally, if it was me, I would follow Nicholas because I think you've got a creative energy about you that is just so engaging, so engaging. So it's been an absolute blast to have you on the show. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
all right, cool. That's it for another episode. Don't forget to check out the UCPN for all your favorite shows. You saw the trailer for it earlier. K-pop Cosmos for everything that is K-pop, boy bands, Power Rangers, and everything in between. And if, like Nicholas, you like your Marvel and your DC, don't forget to check out the No Price podcast, which deals with all our Marvel product out there, including Disney Plus and the MCU, and the Definitive Crusade for all you DC diehards. There you go. Nicholas, absolute blast, sir. You are more than welcome anytime.
Thank you, Johnny. Bye-bye now. Take care.
And I've been your host, Johnny Machine Hughes. And as always, adios.
Visit undercovercapes.com for the latest and greatest podcasts via the Undercover Capes Podcast Network. Also visit our parent company website, comiccrusaders.shop, all about comic pop culture.